The concept of enduro racing is nothing new, with the first sort of big race happening back in 2003 in Val d'Alos. And since then, it's been a bit of a turning point as that race combined timed downhill stages with untimed liaisons. Fast forward to 2013 and the inaugural EWS season is kicking off. Manufacturers and riders alike are trying all sorts of weird and wonderful things to make themselves faster and their bikes better. But is it working? Some yes, some no. But there's only really one way to find out, and that's to take a look at the evolution of the enduro bike. As I'm sure you're aware, we're sponsored by Nuke-Proof Bikes here at the channel, and they were one of the first to jump on the enduro bandwagon, realising the potential of this new race discipline. The Mega, a bike that came to fruition first in 2012, named after the famous race down Alpe d'Huez, the Mega Avalanche. A race lasting sometimes over an hour over roughly 20 kilometers. The bike needs to be able to handle the rough and wild downhill tracks, but have the ability to be ridden up and down. So it needed to have the right geometry and not be too heavy. That brings us to this then, the 2012 Nuke-Proof Mega. Generation 1, and what a beauty it is. Cutting edge at the time with some numbers to match, such as 65-degree head angle, 74.6-degree seat tube angle, 443 chain stays, and an 1174 wheelbase. So it's not too bad. But how does it stack up to this? The 2023 Nuke-Proof Mega, the current iteration in the Mega lineup, and it is just that, quite the weapon, with numbers to match in fact. So let's have a look. The head angle is 64 degrees, the seat tube angle is 71.5 degree actual angle, a full carbon frame, we've got carbon wheels, we've got carbon cranks, we've got carbon handlebars. This thing has got the latest and greatest when it comes to suspension technology, 1x12 wireless group set on there, we've got internal routing for our brakes and our dropper post as well. This, on the other hand, has an aluminum chassis, aluminum wheels, aluminum cranks, and aluminum bars. As well as all the aluminium everywhere, there's also some pretty dated parts on this, not least at the back. We've got a 1x10 drivetrain, nothing wrong with that. In fact, back then, 2x drivetrains up front were still rather commonplace, shall we say, with Tracy Mosey actually winning EWS races on it. But you'll find no electronics or even a clutch back there, it's just good old spring tension. We've got a fairly short externally routed dropper post, cables going on there, as well as on the gearing and on the brakes. The brakes, 2-pot brakes, not dated, but in enduro, a lot of people are up on that 4-pot action these days. Also, when it comes to the suspension, well, those are a fairly primitive affair. You're going to find very limited adjustment and dials, and there's no piggyback on the shock as well. So on those big stages, you're going to find that one really does struggle. So what are some of the main differences when it's old versus new then? Well, let's look at the geometry to begin with then. These are both size large bikes from the different eras, obviously. This bike, however, has a reach of 435, like I said. Now that's only 5mm longer than the size small in the current iteration, and 40mm shorter than this one at the moment. And that can be said the same for the wheelbase. The wheelbases have a shocking 77mm difference, this one on the shorter side, of course, despite the chainstays actually being almost identical in length, 443 and 440. So that's some huge number difference. That's sort of testament to the longer, lower, slacker mantra that we're currently going for. When it comes to wheel size, the 2012 bike was a 26-inch front and rear only affair. 2023, however, this is a full 29er. And actually, obviously, now with the different wheel sizes out there, you can get this one in a mixed mullet wheel size, so 27.5 out back and 29 up front. And you can buy that same bike in whichever you want. You can actually even swap out the back ends to make this bike a mixed wheel size or fixed wheel size, whichever you want. So with over 10 years separating these bikes, you'd thought there'd be huge differences between sort of design, development, and the part spec on these bikes, which would affect things like ride quality, control, and even speed. So let's find out just how much evolution has there been in the enduro bike. Well, today we're gonna find out. We're here at the GMBN super secret test facility at the Forest of Dean, just on the B4234 outside of Lydney, and we're riding the track Cougar to find out. Up first, the new Mega, and the track I've chosen is 2.5 minutes with rocks, roots, jumps, drops, and everything in between. So 3, 2, 1, let's go.
Here we go, sprinty section. Come on, modern day Enduro bike. Right, into Cougar. I don't think the older bike's gonna like this choppiness. It is pretty rough.
The modern Enduro bike is gonna be a tough act to follow, but let's not discount the old one just yet. So in 3, 2, 1, let's do it.
This bike feels like a 10-year-old bike. Oh my God, I feel so far over the front. It's actually incredibly hard work. So much of my weight feels over the front. Oh, and that's because that's incredibly short reach on it, even for a large. I thought in the twistier stuff, the shorter bike might zip round better. I was a little bit wrong. Oh, for a shorter rider, this would still work perfect. For someone who's 6 foot, definitely not.
Okay, nearly there, big road gap. We are skipping that because this bike's hella sketchy. To the finish! And we're across the line. Okay, with that then, we need a classic Rich Payne catch-up, so it's off for a cup of tea and a conclusion.
Well, that was uncomfortable.
Okay then, cup of tea and conclusion time then. And I don't think there's any surprises to know that the new bike here was considerably faster. 11 seconds in fact, 2:02 versus a 2:13 on the original, the 2012 Weapon. But what were the rides like? Well, obviously the new bike is modern, it's roomier, it handles better, it carries speed better, it corners more comfortably, more stable. These aren't surprises, this is going to happen with any old versus new bike. It's the level of progression that's gone from this one to get to this one that's mind-boggling. Enduro bikes have changed a humongous amount when we look at them, especially when ridden and seen side by side like this. So what's really interesting to know is where an Enduro bike's going to be in another 10 years' time. I mean, we've already got wireless, electronic, gubbinry all over this bike, gears, dropper posts. Are we going to see more gearbox action in the future? Are we going to see wireless brakes possibly come into this? Are we going to see longer travel, different wheel sizes? Well, the sky's the limit, and well, I can't wait to find out. Are you still rocking from something that, well, we might say the good old days? If you are, well, I'd love to see it. Send it into the bike vault, in fact. But for me, for now, I'm out of era. Thanks for watching, everyone, and I'll catch you next time.